And joining me now is the independent progressive senator of Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Good to be with you, Tom.
Let me just start. Give me your take about why the president and the Democratic Party are in this precarious political situation right now at the start of the second year of the presidency.
I will tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. I think the president and the Democratic Congress started off very, very strongly. They looked at the economic crisis that was caused by COVID. We stood up strongly, and we passed the American Rescue Plan, which did an enormous amount in revitalizing our economy, put money into the hands of working people, put money into hospitals and into health care, lowered childhood poverty by 40% by putting direct payments to the hands of working-class parents all over this country. We were off to a great start. And we also passed along the way the strongest infrastructure bill that has been passed since Dwight D. Eisenhower in order to rebuild our crumbling roads and bridges and water systems, expand broadband, and create many, many hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs. We were off to a great start. And then I will tell you exactly what happened. 50 members of the Republican Party decided that they were going to be obstructionists, that they were not going to help us address the crises facing working families, not going to deal with the existential threat of climate, not going to be dealing with the high cost of prescription drugs, the need to expand Medicare, the need to improve home health care, et cetera, et cetera. And then you had two United States senators joining them, Mr. Manchin and Senator Sinema. And then for 5 months now, there have been negotiations behind closed doors trying to get these senators, these two Democratic senators, on board. That strategy, in my view, Chuck, has failed. Yeah. It has failed dismally. We saw it last week in terms of the Voting Rights Act. We now need a new direction, in my view, and that is to take it to the Republicans to bring important pieces of legislation that impact the lives of working families on the floor of the Senate. And if the Republicans want to vote to protect the wealthy and the powerful, that's their right. Let the American people see what's happening.
So you think this really is a process problem, if you will, tactical problem, not a substance problem. So does this mean you think from the beginning, and I hate you even using the word reconciliation for this audience, you know, we don't want to get mired into that Congress speak there. But do you think that was sort of a mistake, right? Lumping it all in, that there should have been separate votes for everything, or now there should be?
No.
Okay.
No, that is exactly not what I'm saying. What is in the reconciliation bill, and I know that's inside the Beltway, is enormously popular. It's what 70, 80% of the American people. NBC should do a poll. Find out whether the American people want us to take on the greed of the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs. Ask people whether they want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. Ask people whether they want to improve home health care, whether we want to deal with climate change. All of those pieces of legislation are enormously popular. The bill itself in its entirety, and the president deserves credit for looking at the real problems facing this country. But what we had is obstructionism from 50 Republicans to Democrats. What we have got to do now is take the issues to the American people. And if the Republicans want to vote against lowering the cost of prescription drugs, they want to continue to give tax breaks to the rich, let them vote that way. Let the American people see what's happening. And then we can come together after these votes to put together the strongest bill that we can.
So I was just going to say, let me play for you something that Ro Khanna, a progressive House member, represents Silicon Valley, what he said about climate and Joe Manchin. And I'm curious what you think of this.
Give him the pen, let him come up with something. I think he's going to come up with something that is going to be extraordinarily much better than nothing on climate.
Are you okay with that strategy now, or do you want to go through the votes first, and then you're like, okay, if all I can get is what I can get from Manchin, I'll take it?
Look, as a tactical issue, you know, you have been around long enough to know that funny things happen when a bill gets to the floor. Clearly, we have got to deal with the enormous crisis of climate. Let's put a strong bill on the floor. And if Mr. Manchin and Ms. Sinema want to vote against it or whatever, Republicans want to vote against it, we can go from there. But what we cannot continue to do, in my view, is these endless backroom negotiations. The American people have got to see where we are. And after that happens, we'll do the best that we possibly can.
Do you think, though, it's been healthy for the Democratic Party to highlight the division in the party? You know, you look at Senator Sinema. She was censured by the Arizona Democratic Party over what some will look at as a disagreement over tactics, not over substance, but over tactics. Do you think that was an appropriate action?
Yeah, I do. I think it's exactly right. Look, on that issue of voting rights, this is something that's almost different than anything else. What that is that right now you have a Republican Party under Trump's leadership that is perpetuating this big lie that Trump actually won the election. And therefore you have 19 Republican states that are moving very aggressively into voter suppression, into extreme gerrymandering. Some of these states are doing away with the powers of independent election officials. They are moving in a very, very anti-democratic way. And it was absolutely imperative that we change the rules so that we could pass strong voting rights legislation. All Republicans voted against us. 2 Democrats voted against us. That was a terrible, terrible vote. And I think what the Arizona Democratic Party did was exactly right.
Let me ask you this. As you know, I'm going to have my next guest, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. She's part of some swing district members of Congress that wanted also a retooling, but in a different way. Would like to see more compromising focus on the inflation and COVID issue right now. Essentially, while agreeing with you that the ideas are popular, voters are worried about near-term issues right now, and that's what's better for the midterms. What do you say to her?
Well, I think in a sense that's right. You know, we can chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. And my own view, if you want to do things that are important and are politically effective, what you got to do is talk to where the American people are. They want action on COVID. That is exactly right. Let's do it. They want action on prescription drugs. They want action on home health care. They want action on climate. We have got to revitalize the Senate. We've got to bring these bills to the floor. We've got to debate them. And I think at the end of that debate, when we see how things shake out, we can then pass strong legislation which will help all Democratic candidates, because you have a Republican Party right now which is playing the obstructionist role. They stand for nothing except for wanting to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Very quickly, as perhaps the leading progressive voice in the Democratic coalition, can President Biden count on your vote in the Senate with almost any compromise he comes up with Manchin?
No, you got to look. No, absolutely not. You're going to have to look at what that so-called compromise is. If it's strong, if it protects the needs of working people, if it deals with climate, I'm there. But we have to look at the details of any proposal.
All right. Senator Bernie Sanders, the progressive independent senator from Vermont, appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.